I never imagined a simple sprinkle of mysterious powder on clothes could turn me into someone completely new. My dream body, my secret life, all became real overnight. When I heard my doorbell go off that morning, I was really excited. I quickly went over to my door to see if it was what I hoped it was. I opened my door and was thrilled to see a package sitting on my doormat. I quickly picked it up and brought it back into my home. Barely able to contain my excitement, I brought it into my kitchen and placed it on the bench. I then grabbed a pair of scissors and began opening the package. When I finally got the package open, I was over the moon. I can't believe it. This is going to change everything, I said to myself. There were 2 small jars full of powder in the package. I took them both out and placed them onto my kitchen bench. I then spent a few minutes just staring at the jars. They were going to change my life. Around a month ago, I had been browsing a website when I suddenly saw an ad that caught my eye. The ad said that with the powder, I could turn any piece of clothing into something that could change people's bodies. It sounded insane, and I really didn't believe it at first. However, I was able to find a review online that showed the powder working. I was still skeptical, though, so I did some more digging online. I eventually found a forum discussing the product. Everyone there said the powder worked, which finally convinced me to buy it. Apparently, when the powder was used on somebody else's clothes, they then lock onto that person. Anyone else who chooses to wear the clothes after that would then turn into that person. The clothes would only affect the part of the body they covered. For example, a t-shirt would only change my torso and chest area. If it sounds complicated, I get it. I didn't understand it at first either. Nevertheless, I still decided to order the powder. Before we continue, let me give some background information on myself. My name is Jason, and I'm 47 years old. I have always seen myself as a girl, but I've never been able to build up the courage to transition. I work as a model scout for a large modeling agency based in my city. I really enjoyed my job, finding and meeting new models. I, however, always wished I could have been one of the models. Their lives looked so fun to me. I had always been too scared to actually transition. I didn't think I would be able to pass as a girl, so I just stayed as a guy. That's why I was so excited to try out the powder. If it worked as advertised, I would finally be able to transition. I desperately wanted to test out the powder, so I looked around my house for clothes I could try it on. The only clothes I could find that weren't my own were from my ex-girlfriend. After we had broken up, she had accidentally left some of her clothes at my house. She never bothered to come and get them, so I had been hanging on to them ever since. I figured I could try the powder on her clothes as a test. If it worked, I would then use the powder on my own clothes and switch back. I didn't really want to spend any time in her body. I had a look through what she had left and eventually decided I would try the powder on a blouse and a pair of jeans. I sprinkled some of the powder over the clothes and watched as it slowly dissolved into the fabric. Once I couldn't see any of the powder anymore, I figured the clothes were now ready to be used. I removed everything I was wearing and then tried on the jeans. I slowly slid them up my legs, struggling slightly due to how tight they were. Once I had them on, I started feeling a strange sensation below my hips. "Oh my God, it must be working," I said out loud to myself. After a few seconds, my legs and waist had completely changed. I was shocked by how well it had worked. It all looked so feminine. Before I got too carried away, I decided to put on the blouse as well. I put it around my neck and then down over my torso. Seconds later, the sensation from before was back. This time, I felt it in my stomach. I then watched as my entire upper body changed. It was unbelievable. By this point, I was desperate to know what I looked like, so I went to my bedroom to have a look in my mirror. I was filled with joy when I saw my reflection. Even though only some of my body had changed, I still felt like a girl. I felt incredible. I spent a while wearing the jeans and blouse until I eventually started getting a little uncomfortable. Wearing my ex's clothes and having my body look like hers just didn't feel right. I eventually changed out of them and used the powder on my own clothes, switching my body back to normal. I decided I needed to find other clothes I could try on. So I booted up my laptop and logged into Facebook Marketplace. I started looking through the female clothes section, hoping to find something for sale from an attractive girl. As I was looking through everything, I came up with a genius plan in my head. All of the clothes I bought came from similar-looking girls in their early 20s. It was crucial they all looked fairly similar for my plan to work. When I would receive the clothes, I would mix up the outfits so the girl I would change into was a unique person, meaning I wouldn't be stealing someone else's life. I thought it was really smart. I couldn't think of a reason that would stop it from working. In the end, I had spent upwards of $1,000 just on the clothes. I couldn't wait for them all to arrive. Over the next week, I tried my best to continue my life as normal. It wasn't easy, though. I could not stop thinking about the powder and what I could do with it. Whenever I saw an attractive girl, all I could think about was what it would be like to live as them. I was so desperate for the clothes to arrive. I just wanted to leave my life as a guy behind me. When all of the clothes eventually arrived, I was over the moon. I quickly began opening the packages to start looking through everything. The amount of clothing there was insane. I hadn't realized how much I had bought until I saw it all in front of me. I decided to first put on a pair of shorts with a bra top. The shorts had come from a girl with incredible legs and wide hips. The bra top had come from a girl with a large chest. I was hoping that by combining the two, I would get the best of both girls. If it worked, my new self would be incredibly attractive. After undressing and applying the powder to the clothes, I started to put the shorts on. Getting them on was a bit of a struggle. They were really tight and not very stretchy. When I finally managed to get them in the right place, I felt things begin to change. My legs shrunk slightly, while my hips and rear end grew significantly. It felt incredibly nice. Next, I moved on to the bra top. It was quite a bit easier to get on, sliding down my torso into place nicely. Once it was in the right spot, my upper body began changing. I got slightly slimmer, and 2 large mounds appeared on my chest. I was just so happy with everything. I couldn't believe how perfect things had gone up until this point. I wasn't finished yet, though my head and face were still male. I had bought a hat from a girl I found incredibly attractive. All I had to do was put it on my head to complete my look. I felt my face change slightly, while my hair changed color and got quite a bit longer. After 47 years of dreaming, I had done it. I was a girl. The first thing I had to do was go and see what I actually looked like. I quickly went over to my bedroom to have a look at my reflection. When I saw what I looked like, I just about broke down in tears. I couldn't believe how perfect I looked. My new body was slim but curvy, with an incredible figure. I also had an incredibly attractive face. It was unbelievable. I spent a while just staring at myself in the mirror, trying my best to process it all. I was still struggling to believe how well everything had gone. Eventually, though, I decided to go and have some fun trying on the other clothes I had bought. I had only used the powder on the clothes I had used to change my body, so the rest of the clothes wouldn't be able to change my body anymore. I spent a few hours trying on everything I had. It was some of the most fun I had had in years. Eventually, I decided I needed to start thinking about my future life instead. I already knew that I wanted to try and become a model. Their lives looked so much fun to me. I also knew that they made a lot of money. Becoming a model wouldn't be too difficult for me. I had worked as a model scout for almost 20 years. After all, I knew exactly what the modeling agencies were looking for. I could easily use my knowledge to my advantage. I decided that the next day I would go to the modeling agency I worked at and ask for an interview. I knew that they typically didn't do interviews on short notice, but I knew which one of my coworkers would be working that day. I was sure I could convince him to give me an interview. I knew he had a thing for girls in short dresses and heels. If I wore what he liked, it wouldn't be too difficult. I spent the rest of that day getting used to being a girl. Life was quite a bit different now that I wasn't a guy. I also tried my best to learn more about how to act like a girl. If I wanted a job as a model, I would have to act a lot more feminine. Eventually, nighttime came, and I decided it was time for me to go to bed. Tomorrow was going to be a big day. After waking up the next morning, I began getting myself ready to head to the modeling agency. I had a shower and did my hair. I even applied some basic makeup to my face. It was then time for me to get changed. I picked out a beautiful short dress with a pair of heels from the pile of clothes I had bought secondhand. The dress felt incredible on me. It hugged my new curves so well. I felt so happy. Unfortunately, the heels weren't nearly as comfortable on me. I hadn't ever walked in heels before, so they took some getting used to before I was able to properly walk in them. Eventually, I was all ready to head down to the agency. I booked a taxi online and waited patiently for it to arrive. Once it arrived, I left my home and got inside, telling the driver to take me to the modeling agency. While in the taxi, I realized that I actually hadn't thought of a new name for myself. After some thinking, I decided my new name would be Alice. It was nice and simple. After a while, I arrived at the modeling agency. I thanked the driver and then left the taxi. Before I began walking towards the entrance, I took a big deep breath in before I opened the door and walked up to the counter. Fortunately for me, the guy I thought would be working was the one behind the counter. I could see his eyes light up as he looked up from what he was doing to see me walking towards him. "Good morning, ma'am. What can I do for you?" he asked me as I reached the counter. "Hi there. Would it be possible if I could get a job interview? I'm really hoping to become a model with your agency," I asked, trying my best to sound as feminine as possible. I could tell he was thinking about my question. He didn't seem to know what to say. Eventually, he responded and told me he would be happy to give me an interview. He told me to go and sit in the waiting area while he prepared. As I walked over to the waiting area, I smiled to myself. I knew I would be able to get an interview from him. I sat down and began waiting, scrolling through my phone to pass the time. Eventually, the guy came over to where I was sitting and told me he was ready. I then followed him as he began walking over to an interview room. The interview went incredibly well. By the time we had finished, I knew I was going to get hired. During the interview, I used every trick I had learned during my career as a model scout. It made answering the questions I was asked really easy for me. After the interview was over, I gave my contact information to the guy and then left the agency, catching another taxi home. The next couple of days went fairly smoothly for me. I spent a lot of my time out shopping for new clothes and other necessities I would need for my new life as a girl. I also spent a few of my nights out clubbing. I was now a girl in her early 20s, after all. 5 days after the interview, I received a call from the modeling agency. I answered without hesitation. The guy on the other end of the call was the same person who had interviewed me. I listened intently as he began to speak. After a few minutes of talking, he told me that the modeling agency would be happy to sign me on as one of their models. I was over the moon. My dream was finally turning into reality. Over the next couple of weeks, I spent a lot of time at the agency, learning more about modeling. There was a lot I had to learn. It was hard at times, but I knew it would be worth it. Eventually, after around a month of learning the basics, I was hired for my first photo shoot. The photo shoot was for a popular swimwear company who were preparing to launch a new line of bikinis. The shoot was honestly a lot of fun. I loved every second of it. I knew I was going to enjoy being a model. I made a few $1,000s off that photo shoot. It was a lot of money considering how much I enjoyed the work I had to do. Over the next few months, I was hired for many more photo shoots through my agency. I got to model everything from dresses to lingerie. They were all so much fun. I was also starting to build a large following by this point. A lot of people had seen my photo shoots, causing me to gain a lot of popularity on Instagram and other social media platforms. My new life was so incredibly fun. I was popular, wealthy, and a beautiful girl. What more could you possibly ask for? It was hard to believe this all happened because of a random ad I got. It's funny how things work sometimes. Nevertheless, I was grateful for it all. I can't wait to see what the future holds for me. Thanks for watching this video. More videos will be coming very soon. We would really appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel to support us. Thanks for watching.